Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thanks for hanging out, and today I'm going to be doing a video on my updated Avacyn deck tech. The last time I filmed one of these was in 2018, I believe. I will list that in the down bar below, just in case you're interested in watching it. I don't actually honestly really know how much this deck has changed. I feel like I'm kind of at the point though where a lot of my EDH decks are like very much more refined and stuff, which is great. So it's kind of like the way that it's working is there's not as much editing that's really going on. So when you guys kind of see these, it's not like, oh yeah, like I changed like 20 cards. Like one of my decks, my Mugus deck, which you guys actually haven't seen, that deck is actually going through pretty severe, I would say, edits. Like that is going through like 10 cards, which is honestly a lot for me. That's like a lot of editing that deck is going through, which is why you guys haven't seen that yet. Sorry y'all, I adjusted you a little bit. I thought you were a little bit crooked, but I'm not 100% sure. It's really hard for me to tell from this angle. But anyways, I wanted to do this updated video for you guys. Deck techs are some of the most viewed on my channel, just to kind of like talk about what this deck is. This is a Angel Tribal board wipe theme, I guess, if you're gonna call board wipes a theme, which it is basically. Obviously it's about getting Avacyn out as quickly as possible, so there are a ton of mana rocks and some mana acceleration just in order to get her out, and then there's of course a ton of board wipes, which is totally my style. And there are, I would say, at this point I'm really happy with the deck. I do want to get why cannot I ever remember the name of this card? It's Ancient Tomb. I do want to get an Ancient Tomb for this deck, and I also want to get a Mana Vault or whatever the one that's add 2 mana to your pool. I don't remember what that one's called, but I do want to get that for this deck because I just want to make sure that I'm able to get Avacyn out as quickly as possible. The earliest that I've able to get her out is turn 4, which I think is pretty good. And also too, I guess I should just say that this is for, my EDH level of play that is totally acceptable and totally fine to get your, indestructible 8/8 commander out on turn 4, because some people are like, well, in my playgroup, I get her out on this turn. It's like, okay, well, my playgroup is different from your playgroup. So anyways, yeah, this deck is super fun. In terms of like power level, I don't know. I mean, like, I do think that this deck is on the slower side, and it has picked up. One thing I will say is this deck has definitely gotten more competitive, and it's definitely gotten more able to get Avacyn out more consistently in the early stages of the game, so it's just something that I would note. But yeah, let's just hop into this. Let's start by talking about lands. Oh, also, I do have my Judge promo, and then I also have my Tracy, Angel of Selfies, which is, I think pretty fantastic. Let's adjust y'all so y'all are a little bit closer. There we go. My friend Eddie made this, and my flavor text is absolutely fabulous. Let's start talking about lands. 35 is my sweet spot. I run 22 basics. The majority of them are these ones. Those are my like lands of choice. But I have one of these Ravnica weekend ones. I think that's what it is. I don't know. It's got the timestamp. I love this one. I wish this was a full art. But anyways, those are like my lands of choice. I run 22 basics. And then for specialty lands, the first thing that I run is Arc of Araska. I really enjoy this card. It is kind of a lot of mana to activate the draw card, so I don't necessarily always do it, but if honestly I'm hellbent and I have no cards in my hand, this is a really, really good card to basically have, and just to get the chance to draw a card. I really like this. And yeah, City's Blessing is 0 issues. The next one is Amara the Sky Ruin. I actually haven't drawn this card recently. I've definitely played with this card for a while, so like it's not like I'm unfamiliar with it, but I haven't drawn this card recently, but it is really good for Graveyard Recursion. Field of Ruin, pretty classic. I really enjoy this card a lot. I run this in like all of my decks. Homeward Path. I run this card because, yes, people do try to target Avacyn and they do try to steal her, and I don't like that, so I wanted to run a Homeward Path in this deck. Kabara Crossroads. The deck used to have a lot more life gain, and it definitely still has some of that, but it's not as much as it used to. And also, it is mono white, and I'm kind of able to run cards like this where I wouldn't normally run a card like this in maybe a 2-color deck, because there's other lands that I'd run over it, but I do like this card in this deck for that, and it's stunning in foil. Like, oh my god. James, who's that? James Pack? Stunning. I have New Benalia. I really enjoy this card. I do like scrying. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. Love this card, particularly in monocolor decks. I think it's fine in like dual color decks, but honestly this card in like monocolor decks is just absolutely devastating. You can generate a ton of mana. Also having Avacyn too, she generates 3, so she basically pays for this and then all the other devotion you have. Prismatic Vista, you know, I know a lot of people give me flack for, like, deck thinning in very minimal ways, but I like it. It gives me the satisfaction that I'm actually, like, thinning my deck out, which I know doesn't make a huge difference, but I like to do it, okay? Don't give me flack for it. Rogue's Passage, because this plus Avacyn unblockable hits 3 hits, you're dead, so, you know. Seraph Sanctuary, yeah, pretty classic staple card in this deck. Almost done with lands. I then run Tectonic Edge, again, huge fan of land destruction. I like to have a little bit. I don't run like a ton, but I like to have, you know, a couple of cards. I do run Temple of the False God. I've actually taken this card out of a lot of my decks because, again, get a lot of flack for this card, and I don't think it's amazing, but I like it in this deck because, again, I do have, like, a lot of my angels are very high mana cost, so if I pay even this for the commander attacks, like, I don't mind running this card in this deck. And the last one is Windbrisk Heights. Actually, I have had issues, honestly, getting 3 or more creatures attacking, so this card might come out in the future. I'm not 100% sure. Hopping into talking about Planeswalkers, I run 2. The first one I run is Elspeth Sun's Champion, to literally no one's surprise. This is my favorite Planeswalker, and I run it any excuse I get because I love it. She's the best Planeswalker at protecting herself. She's also a mini board wipe in 1. Very rarely have I gotten her ult off, but yeah, Elspeth Sun's Champion, best Planeswalker, love her. The other Planeswalker I run is Sarah the Benevolent. Oh, also, guys, I always forget to mention this. I'm so sorry, but the deck will be listed in the down bar below, so feel free to check that out if you want to follow along with me. Anyways, Sarah the Benevolent, great card. I really like it. I don't think I've actually... I feel like I've cast her, like, once, but I do really enjoy her, and I think her ult is just incredibly devastating. And she can also create a token, or you just get something giving your team +1/+1 until end turn. Great card. Talking about enchantments, I only run 2. The first one I run is Dawn of Hope. I really like this card. I like that it makes tokens if you have nothing else to really do with your mana. And then whenever you gain life, which again, there is a little bit of life gain in this deck. Maybe not as much as there used to be. I think there was a lot more in the past, which is fine. But nonetheless, I do like this card because I like to draw cards. And of course, Oblivion Ring. Not a whole lot to say there. Instance, I only run 4, which I honestly feel like is pretty surprising, but the first one I run is Crush Contraband. I love this card. Yes, given you might sometimes lose out on a little bit of value because you might be paying 4 mana just to exile artifact, but honestly, I haven't really found that that's been an issue, to be honest. I feel like most of the time that I cast this card, it genuinely is for both modes. And 2 mana to exile 2 things is incredibly good at instant speed. I really like this card a lot. I know a lot of other people run the other card that's very similar to this. I don't remember what it's called, but I can picture the art. It's got like blues and like greens and it's got like doves around it, which says you can do one or both. Sorry, like you can pick an artifact 2 times or an enchantment, but that card's a sorcery if you do that, and this is an instant, so I enjoy this card a little bit more. Then I have Enlightened Tutor. I have a good amount of artifacts. I have the same amount of artifacts as I do creatures, so I think Enlightened Tutor makes a lot of sense in this deck. I really like it. Yeah, overall, it's a good card. I have Path to Exile also. Isn't this perfect because it's like angel artwork? Yeah, I also have the foil one because, you know, it's me. But I freaking love the art of this card. It is some of my favorite. Anyways, yeah, just classic Path to Exile, and then very similarly to that, I run Swords to Plowshare. Okay. Let's talk about sorceries. The first one I have is Akroma's Vengeance. I really love this card. It's artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. The foiling is, yeah, onslaught foils. Every time get me. Anyways, I love this. It doesn't hit everything, but it hits the majority of things. I don't think I've ever really cycled this card, TBH. Armageddon. Yes, I am someone who runs Armageddon. No, I am not someone who avidly goes out of my way to do it. I pretty much do it and the game does end, but I'm not someone who's like avidly seeking out to do this every game. Day of Judgment, classic. I'm going to run through some of these because a lot of these are just generic board wipes. End Hostilities. Entreat the Angels, not a card that I ever feel like I really cast. There's nothing wrong with this card, and I do like this card and I do intend to keep it in, but honestly just not a card that I really cast. Hour of Revelation, I love this card. This is a 3 mana board wipe, destroy an online permanence. I've never hard cast this card, and I don't think I ever will. It's just, and even if you do, you don't care to get rid of everything. Planar Cleansing is the same thing as our Revelation. It's just 6 mana, and this is 3 mana. And the last one is Wrath of God. Okay, now let's talk about artifacts. Like I said, I run a lot of artifacts. I run 24. The same amount of creatures. The first one I run is Armorelli Sphere, or as I like to call it, a Sphere. Yeah, it gets you 2 lands. Not a whole lot to say about this card, but I do like that this is 2 mana, play it, and then the next turn 2 mana and do it. I like to have a mix of that and then rocks. I'm just kind of like a fan of having a mix of both. I then have Darksteel Ingot. I know this is indestructible, so honestly I could probably get away with running something else that's a little bit cheaper because I don't really need the indestructibility, and I could probably run something else over this, but for right now it's that. Expedition Map, I do really like this because it can get me any land, so any type of land that I need in this situation I can get. Then I have Gilded Lotus. I really like this card. Just, again, mana acceleration. It gets me 3 of any color, which is really good, because a lot of these are colorless. Herald's Horn. I really, really love Herald's Horn. It is a little bit pricey, and I've talked about this in my EDH cards worth of money. I think this card's about like 10 or 11, maybe 12 or so, but it's a really, really good card. Angels do cost 1 less to cast, and you can reveal your library and put it into your hand, so you do get a little bit of card advantage, so I do like this card. Marble Diamond. Pretty basic mana acceleration. I like it. Mindstone, one thing I really enjoy about Mindstone is you do get to sack it to draw a card if you have a lot of mana, so it's really good at like it's kind of a good like mid-range card. You can cast it like at any point of the game. Mind's Eye, I really enjoy this card. It is a lot of mana, but to be honest, so is a lot of this deck, but again, you balance it out because you do run, a lot of different, you run a lot of different, like, of mana acceleration and stuff, so you don't really mind that, but getting to draw cards whenever someone draws a card is really good, or opponents, I should say. Pearl Medallion, really good to have your stuff cost 1 less. Perilous Vault. So, funny story about this card. I actually didn't have this card in here for a while. And I decided to run this card because sometimes I do need the board exiled. Usually destroying is enough, but sometimes it's not, and sometimes I do need that little bit of extra push. So, I do really I run this card in all my decks. I love Perilous Vault. It's my favorite board wipe. Planar Bridge. I decided to put this card in there when I wanted something that just to give me a little bit of extra, oomph, I would say, in the deck. Yeah, it is a tutor, and it is a lot of mana, but again, I think I run just so much ramp that it doesn't really matter. This deck, like I said, is on the slower side, but I don't really think that matters. Still a very good card. Slowing. Staff of Wind. I do get a lot of flack for this card. It's definitely one of my pet cards, but guys, this card is so good if left unchecked, honestly, because a lot of people are like, oh, the card's bad, and then they don't remove it, and then you get so much card advantage of it. Like, this card staying around for 3+ turns is just so devastating, and you get to ping something. Great card. Swiftfoot Boots. I don't own Lightning Greaves in this deck, and I actually should. I just don't have an extra one. Sword of the Animist. I really like this card. It is only basic lands, so you can only get basics, but again, I run 22, which I think is a reasonable amount. I've never, run out of basics or anything in this deck. But yeah, I do like this, especially at early stages of the game. Thematic Compass is one of my personal favorite artifacts. I really, really enjoy this card. And then once you do get this to flip, so it's good at any point of the game, because once you do get it to flip, it does become a Mazavith, which is really good. And that's another card that I should get for this deck, Mazavith. It's on my list, but we haven't gotten there yet. Then we have Thran Dynamo. Traveler's Amulet. Again, I really like this card. It's just a really cheap thing to do at the beginning of the game. Also, this foil. This one is my favorite. I think this is the Theros one. OG Theros. I love that foil. That art is so pretty. Urza's Incubator. If you are building tribal decks, kind of like this, where there are, heavy mana cost, Smothering Tides are really... Sorry, Smothering Tide. A Smothering Tide's a card that does need to go in here, but Urza's Incubator is really good for those tribal decks that cost a lot more mana in terms of CMC, because you're able to get them out cheaper, which is really good. I love Urza's Incubator. Vanquisher's Banner, love. I just talked about this card in a most recent Anthem Effects video. You choose a creature type, angels, they get +1/+1. And whenever you cast an angel, you get to draw a card. Overall, this card's amazing, and I love it. Vidalcan Ori, because honestly, what is more threatening than a bunch of angels than angels with flash? Wayfarer's Bauble. I know a lot of people give, what was this, Modern Masters a lot of flack for the foils, but honestly, I really enjoy this foil. The way that they did the colors is like darker, but I don't know. I just really like this. Anyways, I'm probably in the unpopular opinion. I run World Slayer. Yeah, again, this is not the automatic, I do this every game sort of situation. But if I have it, it's just hilarious and definitely game winning. And the last artifact I have is Worn Power Stone. I really, really love this card. 3 mana getting access to 2 mana. It doesn't do the battlefield tapped, but honestly, you don't really care, and helps you cast your things. Alright, let's talk about the best part, in my opinion, which are the creatures. I run 24. I don't know if I specified, but I run 24 artifacts as well. The first angel I run is Akroma, Angel of Wrath. She just does everything. She just has keyword soup right on her. I always forget. I used to have this card in like Japanese and I never remember what it did because I literally did everything and I was like, does it have this ability? I don't remember. It does so many things. It's a great card. Angel of Finality. This is a newer addition into my deck, but I do really like this card. I like having the chance to, even if it is just one time, I have a little bit of recursion, but not that much. Honestly, you don't really need it because the majority of the time your stuff's indestructible. So it's not getting removed anyway, and if it is, it's getting exiled. So there's no way of bringing it back, but no, I do really like this card. Just a little bit of graveyard hate. Nothing crazy, but Angel of Grace is another new addition into this deck. I honestly haven't I haven't cast this card, so I don't think I can speak to it, but I like it. It's kind of like a little safety net card. I like it. Angel of Jubilation. This card is so good, and honestly, even if you're not building Angel Tribal, this is a really good card to have in your deck because your non-black stuff gets +1/+1, and players can't pay life or sack creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. This is just a really good, Death and Taxes-y type of effect. Not like this deck is avidly trying to do that, but it does really stop a lot of different things, so good card. Angel of the Dire Hour is one of my favorite combat tricks, period. Someone thinks they've got you and you just, do this and then all their stuff gets exiled. This card is so good. And then afterwards, too, one thing I should say, is you're left, after you exile their stuff, it's a 5/4 flyer. Really good. This card is Angelic Arbiter. For those who are not familiar, because a lot of people don't know what this card actually reads. I'm going to actually pull up the wording on here because this is in Chinese, I believe. Each opponent, it's got flying. Each opponent who cast a spell this turn can't attack with creatures, and each opponent who attack with the creature can't cast spells. So basically, opponents can either attack or cast spells. This is, again, a very Death and Taxes-y type of card, making your opponents pay for things. It is a lot of mana, to be honest, but I don't think that really matters. I really, really like this card a lot. It doesn't say you, so it only impacts your opponents, and it puts them in a very difficult situation. This is, again, kind of a good, safety net card. I like it a lot. Angelic Skirmisher is, I truly think, one of the most underrated angels. She's amazing. She says on each combat. So note that my favorite thing to do with her is choose Vigilance on the attack so that you can attack safely into it, into everything, and then choose Lifelink when people declare attackers. Vigilance, First Strike might be relevant too there as well, but that's my favorite thing to do with them personally. It just puts up a wall where people don't want to attack you. Archangel of Foon is a great, great card. I love this card so much. Whenever you gain life, you put a +1/+1 count on each creature. Again, though there's not a ton of life gain in this deck or anything, but there's enough for me to still run this card. And also, she's got lifelink too, so she can definitely, help her team out. She's kind of like a does it all in one kind of creature. You know what I mean? Synergizes with herself. That's definitely something that I really enjoy. Archangel of Ties. Well, I have a lot more Death and Taxes type of cards than I guess I anticipated, but this is a definitely Death and Taxes type card. Whenever she's untapped, creatures can't attack you or a Planeswalker you control unless they pay 1 for each of those creatures. And if she's attacking, they can't block unless they pay 1. You can totally just hose your opponent with this, whether it's on the attack, whether it's on the offense or the defense. Baneslayer Angel. There's not really a whole lot to say. She's just one of the OG, classic, I would say, angels. Again, keyword soup does a lot of different things. I'm gonna actually find her counterpart, yeah, because these, you know, flip. Yeah, Bruna and Gisela I really enjoy. I actually haven't really gotten the chance to really use this ability because, again, a lot of my stuff really doesn't die, very rarely. And then, Giselle's really good because she does a lot of things on her own. She's got Flying First Strike and Lifelink for 4 mana, which is really good. And then they meld into... Anyone else feel like meld is a really rad mechanic? I feel like meld did not get enough love, but maybe I'm in the unpopular opinion. I've actually never got this 2 meld before. But she's got Flying First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink, and your opponents can't cast spell with converted mana cost 3 or less. This is pretty dumb. And it's a 9/10. Like, what? Great card. Amara Angel, I really like this. Also, this art is really pretty. I don't know what this is, like, from. It's like a game day promo or something, I think is what it is. But anyways, this is a really, really good card. Whenever you play a land, you get a 1/1 bird, and it's got flying, which I really like. Amara Shepherd. Yeah, I've definitely... This is really good, because, again, if there is stuff in your graveyard and you play something, you just get it back to the battlefield. And a lot of your stuff is, like, higher CMC, so you just get back this really large thing, which is hilarious. Guardian of the Gateless, or as I like to call it, Guardians of the Galaxy. This has kind of been on the sort of, like, do I keep this card in? But I do think it's really good with Indestructible because you just have infinite blockers with that. So that's kind of why I've kept this card in, and I don't think I'll be taking this card out anytime soon. But definitely, and I'm really happy with the way this deck performs right now, so there's really no need for me to take it out. But anyways, I do think this card is good. Just, you know, it's like okay, you know? The next card is Karmic Guide. Pretty straightforward. Not really a whole lot to say. You just bring something back, and it's got Echo, and you might pay for the Echo or you might not, and I don't think it really matters because you just get something back. But if not, you're left with a 2/2, which is good. Lyn Vala, Keeper of Silence. Yeah, activated abilities of creatures your opponents control cannot be activated, which is incredibly devastating, and it stops a lot of people from doing things. And it does say opponent, so it doesn't impact you. Great card. Lyra or Lyra Dawnbringer. Whoa, do I love this card. So other angels get +1/+1 and lifelink. That's good. And then it's got Flying First Strike and lifelink herself. Like, what? I love this card. It does so many things. Also, Chris ran art. Yeah, I'm about it. I need this card in foil. Mother of Runes. This is a newer card that I think I had actually been recommended to put this card in the deck, and I decided to put it in there because, I don't know, I just thought that something about giving Avacyn, like, protection from something I thought would be a pretty good idea. I haven't drawn it yet, and I did just get it really recently, but nonetheless, this is a really good card, and I'm excited to test it out. Platinum Angel. Again, not a card that I avidly seek out, not a card that I very rarely cast, but nonetheless, it's a good safety net, to be honest. Then I have Sarah's Guardian. I love this card. This card is so good because it gives everything Vigilance. She has Vigilance and she gives everything else Vigilance, which is so good. This was I think this was only an M19 and M20, so a lot of people don't know about this card. It is so good. Then we have Soul Warden. Yeah, pretty straightforward card again, just having that little bit of life gain. I don't have her counterpart in here, Soul's Attendant. I think I just took that card out, but yeah, no, nonetheless, I still do like this card for a little bit of life gain. It's something to do with the early stages of the game. Almost done. We have Sunblast Angel. This is one of my favorite got you cards because someone attacks with all their things and then you're just able to Sunblast Angel and destroy. They do have to be tapped. And it might hit you if you don't have Indestructible and you have tapped things, but I don't really foresee that being an issue. So just make sure you don't have tapped things when you do this. And the last card is Victory's Herald. I love this card. Basically, the flying isn't super relevant because basically everything has flying already. But giving everything lifelink is super relevant. So, great card. And that is it, guys. That is it for my Avacyn deck tech. I really hope you enjoyed. I will be listing my 2018 one below. And I think I have one from earlier later, like earlier years ago. I don't really remember, to be honest, but this deck's definitely come a long way, and it's definitely gotten a lot better in terms of being able to not be as slow and stuff. It is definitely a slower deck because, like, let's be real here, angels just cost more mana. You're not really pumping out like 2-3 angels a turn. It's not that kind of deck, but nonetheless, it is kind of like my big things deck, and I really enjoy it. Yeah, that's everything I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like it if you did, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Bye.